ऑडियो चेक कीजिए, जरा ऑडियो चेक कीजिए। नहीं आ रही है? अब अभी देख, आ गई? ओके। So the topic is about the syllabus of Indian polity first, and then we will be briefly discussing about basic concept topic. Okay. Okay, so let me begin with the syllabus discussion first. In this orientation session, we will be discussing about a couple of things. First, syllabus. Second, a role of previous year's question paper. Then we will discuss about changing trends. Changing trends. How has trend evolved over the period of time, and how has trend changed over the period of time? So now let us begin with the syllabus first. And then we will also be discussing about suggested reading at the end. And then we will formally begin our lecture with the topic basic concept. I always start my Indian polity class with basic concept chapter. I do not straight away start with any of the mainstream topic, but I start with basic concept topic. The purpose of starting with basic concept topic is that through basic concept itself, you will realize that close to 20 questions have been asked in last 4, 5, 6 years. That is why I always start my Indian polity class with basic concept topic itself. Those basic definitions which they keep on asking. Basic definition like definition of liberty, definition of rights, definition of state. Those basic questions they keep on asking. Definition of enabling government. Then they have asked question related to democracy, meaning of democracy. So such type of question, philosophical question, they keep on asking. That is why in the first lecture itself, in the first couple of lecture, I discuss with basic concept, and I find this particular topic to be the bedrock of entire preparation, so that later on when we will move forward, you will not find it difficult to understand when we will discuss about Article 19 clause 1 subclause A, or Article 21 when we will discuss about liberty. So liberty word, you have already acquainted yourself with liberty word. That is why I always start my Indian polity class with the topic basic concept. So first, let us discuss about the syllabus, and then finally we will move on to the role of previous year's question paper and how previous year's question paper is going to immensely help you out in Indian polity. And then we will discuss about changing trends. How has trend evolved? How has trend changed over the years, especially in the last 3, 4, 5 years? And finally, we will discuss about suggested reading. And then we will move on to the topic like 1. First topic, we will discuss about discuss about basic concept. So now let us discuss about syllabus first. Syllabus. What you need to do on your part is go and read syllabus. Download syllabus from UPSC website and just read syllabus. Try to memorize entire syllabus. It will not take much time. It will take hardly 5 minutes for a couple of days. You will be able to memorize the whole syllabus. There are hardly 4 to 5 lines in Indian polity. So you can easily memorize the whole syllabus. So the first thing which you need to do on your part is memorizing syllabus, reading syllabus. Now let me briefly discuss about the topics mentioned in our syllabus. So first topic mentioned in our syllabus is historical underpinnings and evolution of constitution. First topic is topic 1, historical underpinnings and evolution of the constitution. Now this particular topic, historical underpinning and evolution of constitution, so it says that how has historically Indian constitution, what are the historical factors that have greatly shaped Indian constitution, and how has Indian constitution evolved over the period of time. This question deliberately I do not take initially. This topic will be taken up later on, not initially. The purpose is that there are a lot of questions related to historical underpinnings. It means that what are the factors that have gone on to shape Indian constitution. It requires knowledge, a bit of knowledge about history. It also requires a bit of knowledge about the terminologies of Indian polity. That is why initially I will not be taking up this particular topic, historical underpinning. It will be taken up later on. Once you will start understanding Indian polity, so later on this topic will be taken up. And second one is evolution of constitution. This particular topic is not very important from exam point of view. If you will go through the question paper of last 7-8 years, or rather 10 years, in 2013 the syllabus of civil services exam mains was changed. You will realize that in prelims hardly 1 or 2 questions have been asked from this topic, and in mains maybe 1 or 2 topics have been asked from this particular topic. Maybe 1 or 2 questions have been asked from this particular topic. So from exam point of view, this topic is not very relevant. That is why accordingly you should not be trying to delve deeper into the topic. अगर आप once you will try to delve deeper into such topics which are not relevant from the exam point of view, it will make your task extremely difficult. So first you understand the syllabus, you understand the question, and then only you move forward in any particular topic, any subject. For example, if we are starting Indian polity from today itself, so we will also be discussing about the strategy, the way forward through which you need to move forward for your Indian polity class. The first thing which you need to do is try to memorize syllabus, try to read syllabus a number of times. That will give you a very good amount of idea about not only syllabus but about the subject also. The first topic is historical underpinning, that what are the historical factors that have gone on to influence Indian constitution. And second topic is evolution of constitution. How has this particular how has constitution of India evolved over the period of time. Then next topic is features of constitution. Now this particular part of Indian constitution, they have not directly mentioned like fundamental rights and directive principle. They have not mentioned in your syllabus topics like preamble and fundamental rights and directive principle and fundamental duties or the executive. Rather, very smartly they have mentioned topics like features of the constitution. Now what are the features of the constitution? Again, an important topic. You need to make an inference out of your syllabus. If you will go through the books, any of the books, you will realize that the topics covered there are preamble, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, directive principles of state policies, executive, etc. But in your syllabus, they have mentioned only features of the constitution. Then they have mentioned about amendment topic, another very important topic which I will be discussing with you in detail, but not initially. The problem with this particular topic is that initially if I will start discussing about amendment, things will become extremely challenging for you. So you just read syllabus like amendment, doctrine of basic structure, significant provisions of the constitution, but you will not be able to make any inference out of this particular thing. Later on, every topic, single topic in detail will be discussed in the classroom, but the way they have framed the syllabus, so framing syllabus and if something is written in the books, those two are entirely different thing. So examiner, rather than looking at the syllabus, only syllabus, you also need to look at previous year's question paper. Then only you would be able to understand syllabus. If you only look at syllabus and then you go to the topic, you will not be able to make any sense out of it. But if you read syllabus and then you go through the question paper, then you will realize that, okay, this particular topic has been asked from this particular, this question has been asked from this particular topic. So then another topic is doctrine of basic structure. Important topic which we will discuss in detail. Doctrine of basic structure. And then significant provisions of the constitution. In the syllabus they have mentioned significant provisions of the constitution. Now which provision of the constitution can be considered as significant? You have no idea. Students, they often ask me, sir, in syllabus they have mentioned features and in syllabus they have mentioned significant provisions. So what does that mean? It simply means that you need to make an informed choice that what are the features of the constitution that can be considered as significant. You do not need to memorize each and every article of Indian Constitution. In your syllabus itself they have mentioned significant provision. It means that only those provisions of the constitution you need to deal with that is significant. Only such provisions are relevant from examination point of view. Now you may ask this question that what are those provisions that can be considered as significant? Now here comes the role of teacher, here comes the role of coaching. The teacher will tell you that what are the provisions of the constitution that can be considered important from examination point of view. So I often encounter this problem in my class that students try to memorize each and every article of Indian Constitution. Remember this fact that it is almost impossible for you to memorize each and every article of Indian Constitution. Do not even try to do so. If you are preparing for this exam, if you will try to memorize each and every article, the entire process of preparation will become extremely painful and extremely challenging for you. So in the syllabus itself, they have mentioned significant provision. It means that only those provisions you need to go and have a look at those provisions which are important from exam point of view. But how will you get to know what are the provisions that are relevant from exam point of view? What are the provisions that can be considered as significant? When you will go through previous year's question paper, you will realize that what is the meaning of this particular topic significant provision, or what is the meaning of this particular topic that is features of Indian Constitution. That is why I said that you read syllabus first and then you go through the question paper of Indian Polity. So even if you do not know anything about Indian Polity, still you can make a lot of sense out of question and syllabus. Still question and syllabus will give you a lot of idea that okay, even if I do not know about federalism, but I know that these are the topics that have been consistently asked in civil services exam. That is consistently coming in civil services exam. That is why both syllabus and question paper, You should be able to read a number of times. Syllabus you would be able to realize very easily. Syllabus, it will not take more than 3-4 days. And then you go through 150 questions of prelims and almost 100 question of mains of last 10 years. You will realize that reading those 100 question of mains, a lot of concepts would be cleared. You will get ample amount of idea about exam. You will get ample amount of idea about syllabus. And you also go through prelims question. 150 questions have been asked in prelims in the last 10 years. So that is first topic of the syllabus. That is, one is historical underpinning. What are the historical factors that have helped in shaping Indian Constitution? Evolution of Indian Constitution. How has Indian Constitution evolved over the period of time? And then you have features of Indian Constitution, and then amendment, doctrine of basic structure, and significant provision. All these topics will be discussed in detail in the classroom, don't worry. But just by looking at the syllabus and then you go through any material or books, you will not be making much sense out of it. Sometimes a student, they ask from me, sir, fundamental rights has not been written in the syllabus. Those who do not know about Indian Constitution at all, or those who have just started their preparation, when they look at fundamental rights topic, they say that fundamental rights topic is not there in the syllabus. You don't worry about those things because they have mentioned significant provision of the Constitution. So only this small topic, significant provision, it tells you a lot of things about syllabus. That all those provisions of the Constitution that are important from examination point of view, it can be asked in the paper. And then features of Indian Constitution, amendment. What are the process through which Indian Constitution can be amended? Amendment means change in Indian Constitution, modification in Indian Constitution, addition in Indian Constitution, repealing the provisions of Indian Constitution. They are part of amendment. So what are the amendment procedure? Later on we will discuss in detail about amendment procedure also. And then they have mentioned another important thing, that is doctrine of basic structure, significant provision and doctrine of basic structure. We will discuss about all these things in detail. Now second part of the question, second part of the syllabus, second topic. So that was the first topic of syllabus. Later on we will also be discussing about suggested readings, and in the classroom itself, since it is an integrated program, so it will cover all the points of prelims as well as mains. I will try to cover your syllabus as comprehensively as it is possible for me. So I will try to cover your syllabus from both prelims as well as mains point of view, and I will also try to incorporate all the relevant question, all the questions that have been asked in civil services exam in the last 10-15 years in the lecture itself, from both prelims as well as mains point of view. So initially you should stick to the class notes, and later on you keep on expanding your horizon as you start gaining confidence. Gaining confidence, when you will start reading, you will gain confidence. So over the period of time you can add a couple of more sources if you want, but I would advise you that initially you stick to only two things. One is syllabus and question paper, and second class notes. Once you are comfortable with both syllabus, question paper as well as class notes, then you can expand your horizon. But initially do not try to do a lot of things, but because initially what I find, whenever I go to teach offline classes or online classes, the one problem which I encounter almost on daily basis, that students, they do not stick to one particular source initially. Initially they try to cover a lot of source, and in the process they get utterly confused. So don't do that initially. Initially read from one source, go through previous year's question paper. That way you will also get a sense, you will also get an idea that the teacher, whatever teacher is teaching in the class is relevant from examination point of view. You will get this idea, because if you are able to solve question of both prelims as well as mains, you will realize that you will soon become very comfortable in syllabus. So initially do not try to refer to a number of sources. Initially you stick to only one source, that is class notes initially, because initially heavy lifting will not be possible for you. In offline classes, I often advise a student, both online and offline classes, that initially you stick to one source and then you go through previous year's question paper. If you are able to solve 80% of the question or 75, 80%, 85% of the question, then you go for value addition through question paper. That is why I said that initially, do not go for heavy lifting. Do not go through a number of sources initially. As and when you start getting comfortable with syllabus, you start getting comfortable with the subject, you keep on adding sources to your preparation. But initially, it is a big no. Don't do that. So first, that is the first part of the syllabus. Now, second topic of the syllabus, that is functions and responsibilities of union and states. Second topic, functions and responsibilities of union and states. So it means you need to study about both union government and state government. Both union and state government. So about state government also, I will be discussing with you in detail. And then you also need to study about the functions of union government. But the story doesn't end here. You also need to study about the issues and challenges. Issues and challenges which are being faced by both central government and state government. What are the issues? If you will look at this particular topic, you will realize a lot of things. This topic also talks about center-state relations. This topic also talks about financial relations between center and states. This topic also talks about broader relationship between center and states. So these are the issues and challenges that are related to federal structure. Related to federal structure. But suppose I start with the topic itself. Initially, you will not be able to make any sense out of it. So before starting this topic, I must deal with you in the classroom itself about the nature of Indian Constitution. I must deal with you in the classroom itself about distinctive features of Indian Constitution. I must deal with you in the classroom itself about the role played by governor. I must discuss with you in the classroom itself about state government, and I must discuss with you in the classroom itself about federalism in India and center-state relations. And then only you will be able to make any sense out of it. That is why initially when a student look at the syllabus, they do not find anything meaningful. But don't worry. Initially the purpose is only to make you understand about the things that is written in the syllabus, the questions they keep on asking from the syllabus itself. But to decipher those things, you need to go through the question paper. That is why I said that both syllabus and question paper, it should be integrated. Even if you do not know anything about Indian polity, you just follow the process. You do not need to follow a lot of things. You just follow the process. What is the process of studying Indian polity? You go through syllabus first, you go through question paper. Even if you do not know anything about Indian polity, you just read it. So when teacher will be delivering lecture in the classroom, then you will start making sense out of the lecture that okay, this question was asked in 2017, which sir is now dealing in the classroom. This question was asked in 2019 and sir is dealing the same question in the classroom. This question was asked in 2015 mains, sir is dealing the same in the classroom through his lectures. So that will give you ample amount of idea. That is why I said that just go and read syllabus. But initially, just reading syllabus will not make much sense to you. Then another part of the syllabus is devolution of powers and finances up to local levels. Devolution of powers and finances up to local levels. This we will discuss later on under 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. We will discuss later on about Panchayati Raj institutions, urban local self-government, etc. So we will be discussing about all these things later on in detail. So this topic will be discussed later on when you will come to understand about the finer points of Indian syllabus, Indian polity syllabus. Then only we will be discussing about 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Now the point is that in the syllabus they have merely indicated the things which you need to study. Constitutional Amendment Act, CAA, Constitutional Amendment Act. They have merely indicated the things. That is why for somebody who has got no idea about Indian polity initially, the syllabus will not make much sense to you. But when you will attend lecture, when you will go through question paper, the syllabus will start making sense to you. In fact, each and every word of the syllabus will start making sense to you, but not initially, only over the period of time. So when we will study Indian polity for, let's say, first 10 or 15 classes, so everything will start making sense to you that, okay, sir is teaching federalism because federalism is written there. Sir is teaching about union state financial relations because it is written there. Sir is teaching about Panchayati Raj institution because it is written there in the devolution of powers and finances up to local levels. Sir is teaching about municipality because it is written there in the topic devolution of powers and finances up to local level. So initially, you just read it. When I will start teaching in the classroom the same thing, you will start making sense out of it. Then, separation of power between various organs. Third, now Indian polity syllabus is about to be finished. Separation of power. Separation of powers between various organs. That is why I said that remembering Indian polity syllabus is not difficult at all. Now, when you will read about separation of power between various organs, and when I will be discussing the same thing in the classroom, then you will realize that, okay, this particular topic was written there in the syllabus and now sir is dealing with this particular topic in class. Dispute resolution mechanism. Resolution mechanism. So separation of power between various organs, dispute resolution mechanism and institutions. Then another important mentioned mechanism and institutions. Another important topic is comparison of Indian constitutional schemes with that of other countries. So here in the classroom we will be discussing about British Constitution and American Constitution, but they have also asked question related to French Constitution. Now you may ask me, sir, if they have asked question related to French Constitution, so next time around they will start asking question related to Russian Constitution or related to German Constitution. Do I need to study each and every constitution of the world? Look, it is practically not feasible for you to go and have a look at each and every constitution of the world. So even if they ask question from a particular constitutional scheme of a country, you will realize that all those things somewhere in the classroom itself has been discussed, and it has also been covered very beautifully in our booklet UPSC Wala, which I discussed with you in yesterday's orientation session also. But in the classroom we will be discussing about a couple of topics. We will be discussing about American Constitution, we will be discussing about British Constitution, we will also be discussing about, I will also be touching upon the French Constitution. But it is not practically feasible for you to go through each and every syllabus, each and every constitution of the world, because you have very limited time at your disposal. So generally they ask the question that can easily be dealt through the given knowledge itself. For example, this year around they have asked question related to comparison between Indian model of secularism and American model of secularism. Now, this was not a very difficult question to deal with. That is why I said that in such topics, you need to draw a boundary, that I'm not going to go beyond this boundary. This boundary is my limitation, because as a human being, you will not be able to cover entire American Constitution, British Constitution, French Constitution, and German Constitution. So a couple of constitution you need to deal with. If they ask questions, so in 99% of the cases, you will be able to deal with those questions. They do not ask a random question related to Chinese constitution or Russian constitution or Japanese constitution or Australian constitution for that matter. So comparison of Indian constitutional schemes. Indian constitutional schemes with other countries. So one question every year they keep on asking from this particular topic. Here we will discuss about US Constitution, we will discuss about British Constitution, and we will also touch upon the French Constitution briefly, not in detail. Now you may ask this question, that why not German Constitution and why not Russian and Chinese and Japanese Constitution and Australian Constitution? Because it is practically not feasible for you, neither for you nor for me, to cover the constitutional schemes of all the major countries of the world. It is practically not feasible for either a student or for the teacher. So it is better to stick to the constitution of only a couple of countries. If they ask question, on the basis of your existing knowledge, you can easily give an answer. Then next one is Parliament and State Legislature. Next topic is fourth topic, that is Parliament and state legislatures. So in this topic, we will be discussing in detail about Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. We will be discussing in detail about Speaker, Pro Tem Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Leader of Opposition, then Leader of the House. We will be discussing about sessions, special session of Lok Sabha, then a special session of Parliament, 3 sessions. Then we will discuss in detail about ordinance making power, bills, etc., etc. So it's a very pretty long topic. So this topic we will be discussing in detail in the classroom. But this is an endless syllabus, I tell you. That is why you need to find out a boundary. Syllabus Kashyap has written a book on Indian Parliament itself. Now, it is not advisable for you to go through the book of Syllabus Kashyap for reading Parliament only. So this time around, they asked 4 or 5 questions from Parliament itself, direct 4 or 5 questions. I discussed with all those questions in the classroom itself. A lot of my students are here. So I discussed with prorogation of the session, adjournment, signed I discussed with the student about dissolution of the Lok Sabha. And one question I think was related to bills also. I discussed with student all those questions. But this year around, they ask question related to Parliament. It doesn't mean that they will keep on asking question related to Parliament, because UPSC, it keeps on changing trends every year, or at least after a couple of years, they keep on shifting the trend, because they know that if they will stick to a particular trend, coaching institute will pick up the thread and they will start teaching a student on similar line. That is why they keep on changing the trend. So Parliament and state legislature, it will be discussed in detail. So related to functions of Parliament, related to conduct of business of Parliament, officers of Parliament, sessions, committees, etc. Then another topic is structure, organization and functioning of executive and judiciary. Structure, organization, and functioning of judiciary and executive. Functioning of Judiciary and Executive. So here we will discuss about Supreme Court, High Courts. Almost the functions are common. Here we will discuss in detail about the executive, that is the President, Council of Ministers, President, Council of Minister, Prime Minister. We will also be discussing in detail about Chief Minister, then State Council of Minister, then Governor. And we will here discuss about Supreme Court, High Court and lower courts, additional dispute resolution mechanism. So briefly we will also be touching upon these things. So that is part of Indian polity syllabus. Now initially what you need to do about Indian polity, and then one more topic is there, but that converges with what you call governance also. And then another topic is Representation of People's Act. Representation of People's Act. This topic I will be covering in election chapter. The Representation of People's Act. So they have only mentioned in your syllabus about Representation of People's Act. But we will be discussing in detail about organization of election, powers of election commission. We will be discussing about in detail about composition of election commission and types of electoral system also. So Representation of People's Act, it will be discussed under election chapter. Again a pretty long topic, election chapter. And then you have various constitutional bodies and statutory bodies. Constitutional and statutory bodies. And statutory bodies. We will be discussing about all these topics in the classroom. In the classroom itself, we will be discussing about at least 7 to 8 constitutional and statutory bodies. 7 to 8 in the classroom itself will be discussed. But the point is that you cannot keep on reading everything. You cannot keep on reading every single constitutional body and statutory body. You need to limit yourself. So almost you will find that the functions, powers, all are almost common in all these constitutional and statutory bodies. We will be discussing about a lot of these topics like Comptroller and Auditor General. We will also be discussing about National Commission on Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe, Backward Classes, Women, National Human Rights Commission, etc. All these topics will be discussed in detail. So that's about your Indian polity syllabus. Now, what should be the way forward? And then there comes the topic related to governance. We will discuss about those topics in detail later on. Now, what should be your strategy? Your strategy should be one, you go through syllabus, way forward for students. First, read syllabus and read PYQs in conjunction with the syllabus. In integrated fashion, just read it. Do not try to solve it initially. In integrated manner, you read syllabus and you also read question paper. And then the way forward should be attend classes. What you need to do is follow steps, follow the process. First you attend class. After attending the class, go back and read class notes. Read class notes. Then before coming to the class, that will be step 1. You attend class. Step 1, read class notes. Step 2, read class PDF, which you get from institute after every day lecture. Those class PDF, it covers certain additional information. So first you read class notes and then you read class PDF. Point 2. And then on Sunday, on Sundays or holidays, the day you have no classes, you just revise the whole thing. Revision. Remember, revision is the key. It is the most important aspect of your entire preparation. Suppose you read a lot of things, but if you are unable to revise, it's a waste of time. Students that try to read a lot of things, but they are unable to revise, I say it is a waste of time. कोई फायदा नहीं है. If you read things once and you do not revise it within a week, it's a waste of time. You have wasted your precious time. Don't do that. Read a few things and read it a number of times, because only that is beneficial from examination point of view. Always remember that you are preparing for a competitive exam and you are not doing some academic exercise. There is a hell lot of difference between conducting academic exercise and then studying for a competitive exam. For competitive exam, you need to remain focused. For academic things, even if you are not very focused, it is absolutely fine. For academic things, you can go and have a look at a number of sources. You can keep on reading a number of sources, because you need to develop your vision. You need to develop your ideas independently in your mind for academic preparation. But for any competitive exam, you need to remain very focused in your approach. So you need to read things and then you need to internalize things. Suppose you are reading things and you are not internalizing, I tell you, it's a waste of time. You have wasted your precious time. Don't do that. The revision is the key. It is the most important aspect of your entire preparation. You read things once and then again, before coming to the class, next day you read class PDF. Next day, before class, you read class PDF. And then on Sundays and holidays, you need to revise the whole thing. So you will realize that after every subsequent revision, your time will considerably reduce. So initially, a 2-hour lecture you would be able to revise in 45 minutes, suppose, in first revision. So second day, this will come down to 40 minutes, 35 to 40 minutes. On Sunday, if you will revise the whole thing, it will come down to 20 minutes. 20 minutes to 25 minutes. So that is how after every subsequent revision, your time will considerably reduce. So try to reduce the time through revision. Try to cover syllabus, try to go through question paper and revise it multiple times. Then what you need to do is, you go through class notes. Again, before coming back to the class, you go through class PDF, which you will get after everyday class. Within 24 hours, you will also get class PDF, which will have some additional information. And then on every Sunday or holiday, you try to revise the whole thing. In every subsequent revision, you will realize that your time will considerably reduce at a rate of maybe 15%, sometimes even 20%. And when you will go for monthly revision of the same thing, it will take hardly 15 minutes to cover one lecture. So remember, 20 lecture you can cover easily in 300 minutes, that is 5 hours. But provided if you are able to do this exercise of revision on scientific basis after a stipulated time period, so there should be a scientific way of revision. I often advise a student that reading things itself doesn't matter at all for competitive exam. You need to revise it multiple times. If you are unable to revise it multiple times, it is a sheer waste of time. So, and then go for monthly revision. Make it a point that you go for monthly revision. That is the only way through which you will be able to internalize the knowledge. If you are unable to do this exercise, I can assure you that after 2-3 months, you will not be remembering more than 10% of your Indian polity class. If you are unable to revise things in this manner, that is the only way. So scientific revision means that you keep on revising things after a stipulated time period. So after every month, you revise the whole syllabus, and again in monthly revision, you will realize that your timing has come down to 15 to 20 minutes. It means that a 2 hours lecture can easily be covered, easily be revised in 15 to 20 minutes. In that way, entire Indian polity can be revised in one day. But you will be able to do this exercise of revision only when you go through limited source. So limited source is the key, and repeated revision is the most important aspect of entire preparation. So you can have this much in revision only when you cover limited sources. So do not try to cover unlimited sources. Students often come to me and they say, sir, do I need to read do I need to read Lakshmikant also? Do I need to read D.D. Basu also? I tell you that for Indian polity class, you have only maybe 200 hours in a year. You cannot afford to devote more than 200 hours for Indian polity, because you also need to study history, geography, ethics, and blah, blah, blah. You need to study a lot of subjects. So you can devote only 200 hours for Indian polity class. Do you think it is practically feasible for you that within 200 hours or 250 hours, you would be able to cover class notes also? You would be able to cover Lakshmikant also. You would be able to cover our booklet also. Then you would be able to cover you would be able to cover D.D. Basu also. No, it is practically not feasible. It is not a practical thing to do, because you have only 200 to 250 hours in a year to study Indian polity. Now, any sane student, any rational and logical student will find it really difficult to go through a number of sources within a year for Indian polity itself. Because you do not need to study only Indian polity, you have a number of subjects to study as well. So read limited sources, read few sources, and revise it multiple times. That is why I said that revision is the most important aspect of this whole thing. And what will guide you immensely is previous year's question paper. So now what should be the suggested reading? I will be taking up all your questions. Just wait and give me 5 more minutes. Suggested readings. In suggested reading, first you need to rely upon class notes heavily, because in class notes all previous year's question paper I have tried to incorporate. Trust me, you go through class notes and you will be able to solve at least 80% question of each and every paper. Even the paper from test series, you would be able to cover almost 75 to 80% paper, 80% Indian polity paper. So from class notes itself, because in class notes I have prepared in very comprehensive manner. I keep on adding new aspects, new dimensions to the class notes, which I keep on teaching in classroom. Since I take a lot of Indian polity classes, so I keep on adding a lot of new points also. So a lot of new cases will be discussed, a lot of new ideas will be discussed. Previous year's question will also be incorporated in the classroom itself. So I have made class notes very comprehensive. Once you will go through the class notes, you will realize that most of the question you would be able to cover. Not only in civil services exam, even test series, 75 to 80% question of any test series you can easily able to solve. So first one is class notes. Then within 24 hours, you will go through class PDF also, which our team prepares, adds certain additional point, and then you will go through previous year's question paper and you will try to solve it. So suppose I have discussed with you about basic concept chapter. Now what you need to do is that you go through basic concept, you go through those 10, 15, 20 question. So what I'm trying to do nowadays, that suppose I have dealt with you about the definition of a state in classroom. So the question that have been asked from a state topic will be covered there only. Suppose in the classroom I have discussed with you about the definition of liberty in basic concept chapter. So the question that has been asked from liberty topic will be placed there only. Suppose I am discussing with you about Article 19. So the question which they have asked from Article 19 clause 1 subclause A will be dealt there in the class notes itself. So that will make your task comparatively easier. I won't say that it will be a piece of cake for you, but comparatively your task would be easier. You do not need to find out the question. The question would be provided in the class notes itself. Got my point? I will try to incorporate questions would be provided in the class notes itself. So that will make your task, that will make your job a lot easier. So that you read the concept, you understand concept, and then you attempt question. Whenever you find any difficulty, you again go back and you read the concept. So in that way, things will become very easy for you. So you read PYQs. Now comes the role of, so only when you are done with these things along with revision, then only go for any other source. It is sheer waste of time to read one material, then jump on to another material, then jump on to another material. I tell you, monkey branching is not a good idea while preparing for civil services exam. You got my point, monkey branching. That you are standing up on one branch, then you are holding up another branch, then you jump to another branch, then you hold another branch. Don't do monkey branching. When you are preparing for civil services, you find out good class notes along with PYQs, read it a number of times. Read it, revise it, read it, revise it. You will realize that within a couple of months, you will become very comfortable in your preparation. Those students, they find things really difficult. Those who go for monkey branching. Monkey branching means reading class notes and then suddenly you open Lakshmikant also. Suddenly you open our UPSC wala also. Suddenly you open DD Basu also. So you have on your table DD Basu, Subhas Kashyap, UPSC wala booklet, my class notes, Lakshmikant, etc. etc. That is monkey branching. You will not be able to make much sense out of this much material because you will be unable to revise the whole thing. Recently, a couple of months back, I went to Patna for our workshop. So it was a workshop in which around 2,000-3,000 students had come. So one of my students who was my online student, he came to me after orientation, after the workshop and after the event, and he said, I'm your student from Sankalp Batch 2023. So I felt very happy that he is my student. So he said, sir, now I have read your class notes, I have read class PDF, I have gone through all the questions that UPSC, that PW provides after every lecture, all the MCQs, mains question. I have also gone through UPSC wala booklet, I have gone through Lakshmikant. Now I'm planning to read which book I should read. Then he told me that he has also gone through Subhas Kashyap. I said that so far you have been reading only Indian Polity, no? In the last 12 months, you haven't studied any other thing except Indian Polity. So he said, which new book for Indian Polity I should cover? So I was startled and I said that अब आप कुछ मत पढ़िए, अब आप एक किताब लिख डालिए और वो किताब हम लोगों को दे दीजिएगा, उसी से पढ़ के हम लोग पढ़ाएंगे. So मतलब in the last 15 months, 12 to 13 months, the student did nothing. He was only studying Indian Polity. Now this is a recipe for disaster. You cannot go for studying only Indian Polity because only Indian Polity is not a part of your syllabus. You also need to study history, geography and so many other subjects. So you devote only that much time on Indian Polity which is required from exam point of view. Not unlimited time. Only that much time which is required from exam point of view. So that is why I said that once you are able to do class notes, class PDF and PYQs with 2-3 revision, 2-3 times. Then only you go for any other material. So additional sources can be referred to, but not initially. Additional sources, not initially, later on, not initially. Only after doing the revision of these things 2 to 3 times, you can go for additional sources like our booklet, UPSC Wala. That's a real good booklet. It covers all the aspects related to mains as well as prelims. And Lakshmikant. A lot of toppers, they keep on recommending about Lakshmikant. But I tell you that Lakshmikant book is not good for mains point of view. This UPSC Wala booklet is really good from mains point of view. So these are the reference material. Remember, these are reference material, and these materials should not be used initially, because initially if you will start using these materials, I tell you that things will become really difficult for you. So don't try to refer these materials initially. Initially you will not be able to do heavy lifting. You will not be able to manage both class notes as well as Lakshmikant or UPSC Wala. But once you are done with class notes, after 15 or 20 lectures, I tell you that you will become very comfortable in your skin, and then you go for additional material. And apart from all these things, you also need to keep a track of current affairs. So current affairs magazine provided by the coaching, current affairs, read polity section. And if you find anything relevant in the polity section, so those current affairs important information, it should be added in your class notes only, because I will teach you the current affairs so far has happened. But 6 months or 8 months down the line, if something, suppose something related to, it is not about pure current affairs. It is about something, suppose has happened related to office of governor. So in the current affairs itself, a couple of points would be provided related to the office of governor. Suppose in Lok Sabha, a particular motion has been introduced. So current affairs magazine will cover the particular motion. So while reading class notes, you add those points into your class notes, because a particular motion has come in the current affairs, it was into news, that is why it should be incorporated in your class notes. Like if you remember, last year ethics committee was into news, and they asked question related to ethics committee. So a lot of questions which remains in news, those topics are being asked in the paper. So I will try to cover those aspects as well. But since I have got limitations, because once I will finish your class, you need to do things on your own. So for that, for all those things, you have current affairs classes on weekly basis, which covers all the happenings of current affairs on weekly basis. So these are my sources. These are, remember, additional sources. And not initially you should refer to these sources like UPSC Wala magazine and Lakshmikant magazine. In fact, I would advise you to go through UPSC Wala magazine, because this magazine is really a good magazine. It covers everything from both prelims as well as mains point of view. You may ask this question that why not Lakshmikant? Because Lakshmikant nowadays, it has become like a marketing gimmick. Every year they keep on adding 30-40 pages in Lakshmikant book, and then they keep on increasing the price. So when we used to study, Lakshmikant used to consist only 300 pages. Nowadays, I have heard that Lakshmikant, it consists of 950 pages. One of my students recently told me that it consists of more than 900 pages. Now, keeping those 900 pages in your mind is very difficult task. That entire thing you cannot keep in your mind. So they keep on adding 30-40 pages every year, and the size of the book, it keeps on increasing. That is why I remain very reluctant in referring to a student about Lakshmikant. They keep on asking me, sir, so many toppers, they advocate, they recommend Lakshmikant. Yes, they might have referred to Lakshmikant, but not cover to cover. they might have referred to only a couple of topics from Lakshmikant, not entire book from Lakshmikant. So that's about the suggested reading. Now I will take up your question and then we will formally begin with the topic of basic concept. So please. Yes, from tomorrow, from today itself, we will have our classes. Kanchan. Huh. Any question? Please. If there is any question, please let me know. So now let us begin with the topic. I'm not getting your question. I'm not sure whether it is streaming fine or not. Just a moment. Uh, I will keep on writing on the board itself. So most of the things, Vaibhav, I keep on writing on the board itself. So don't worry. Kannu, I don't have. I don't think that you need to memorize article from Indian polity point of view, because all the relevant article from Indian polity point of view I will be covering in the class itself. Remember that you do not need to research about cases, you do not need to research about articles. Class 11 political science book, so far, if you want to go through class 11th political science book, so you can go through Constitution at Work. It's a good book. Constitution at Work. Yes, Khushi, you ask your question. Constitution at Work is a good book. If you find time, you can go through Constitution at Work. So you can add Constitution at Work also. It's a very good book. In fact, I would advise you to go through this book, Class 11th Constitution at Work. Because Constitution at Work, I have gone through this book 3-4 times and I find this book very useful from exam point of view. Or not necessarily, I will, Shikhar, I will try to cover all the things from in detail from basics itself. So don't worry. Don't worry if you haven't gone through NCERT so far. But if along with classes you can go through NCERT, because you will have enough time. You will have only one class per day. So you will have enough time to go through go through the classes. Not necessarily. You along with classes, Shikhar, you can go through NCERT book, especially Constitution at Work. It's a really good book. Any other question? Otherwise, we will move on to the topic itself. जल्दी बताइए. If there is any other question, please let me know. कोई भी क्वेश्चन है तो पूछ लीजिए. Otherwise, okay, chat is off in app because it is a YouTube live session. That is why chat is off in app. Along with class, you can go through NCERT book. Okay, so now let us move on to the topic, and I will also keep on referring to the question. So after every concept, whenever we will discuss any concept, and if a question has been asked from the topic in civil services exam, then I will be discussing about those questions in the classroom itself. So generally I keep on referring to those questions in the classroom itself. So now let us move on to the topic. Basic concepts. Basic concept. So first, the first question that comes to your mind is about Indian polity. And what do we mean by polity? Students, they often face difficulty, they encounter problem in understanding the meaning of polity itself. So in the first lecture, we will discuss about first two lecture. We will be discussing about Indian polity, then we will be discussing about those basic definitions like definition of polity, definition of law, definition of a state, liberty, sovereignty, etc. I will only be giving you basic definition. We will not be discussing about the relevant articles, but only the basic definition of the topic. So now let us discuss with those topics, those definitions one by one. Yes, along with live classes itself, you can prepare. You do not need to go for extra notes. Give up. Just by because I keep on writing on the board also, and I write very extensively on the board. So you keep on jotting down the same thing. I will give you enough amount of time to keep on jotting down those points. So all the major points will be covered in the classroom itself. And I will keep on writing on the board. I will keep on explaining to you the things. So don't worry about making notes, because making notes, not extensive notes. But if you want to make notes later on after 3-4 readings, you can go for bullet form, notes in bullet form. So for example, entire polity can be covered in suppose 20 to 25 pages. If you are able to do so, your job is done for prelims. If you are able to cover entire Indian polity from prelims as well as mains point of view, suppose in 30 pages, 30 into 2, both sides. So it means your job is done. Within a day itself, you would be able to cover, you would be able to revise the whole Indian polity syllabus. So making extensive notes is not a good idea, because extensively I will be covering up all the things in the classroom itself. You do not need to do so on your part. If there is an important thing somewhere, I will incorporate those things in our lecture. You do not need to do extra work, extra heavy lifting on your own. You need to focus on revision, and you need to focus upon basic ideas. And I would also be advising you in between what you need to do and how to prepare those notes and bullet point, but not now. After 3-4 reading of the subject, only you would be able to make a breezed version of the notes. Chale. Yes, it will be covering up everything. Class notes will cover shake everything. Chat is disabled because the class is live on YouTube. That is why there is no point in making chat visible on the app. No. That I will tell you. Sriram is asking, sir, do we need to read current affairs daily related to your class? No, you do not need to do so. Sriram, don't worry. Suppose I have dealt in classroom about chief minister, and in the current affairs magazine, you find not daily, but on monthly current affairs magazine, you find anything relevant to chief minister. You incorporate those points into your notes. Suppose I have dealt with you in classroom about governor, and you find something related to the powers of governor. You incorporate those points into your notes if it is not there in your notes. I have dealt with you about the powers of president, and you find something in current affairs also. You incorporate those points into your notes. Sriram. Chale, NCRT I have already discussed with you. Chale. Yes, 10 a.m. only. 10 a.m. only. Since it was the first class and there was some difficulty in live streaming on YouTube, That is why class got delayed by 10 minutes. But otherwise, you will have your class on 10. Max to max 10, 10, 1, 10, 2, it will begin. Now let us move on to the basic concept chapter. So the first definition which I will discuss here is polity. Now, what do you mean by polity? You go and ask from people, those who have studied Indian polity, those who have studied Indian polity a couple of times, and still those people will understand to give you definition of polity itself. Even if people have gone through the entire Indian polity syllabus a number of times, I've seen it a number of cases that people have gone through Indian polity syllabus, entire Indian polity syllabus, and they find it really difficult to give the definition of polity. Now, what is the meaning of polity? Polity means a political entity having its own administrative and legal framework. Listen to me. I said polity means, it means a political entity Now, what do we mean by a political entity? A political entity means an entity having the capacity to take its own decision. Political entity means an entity having the capacity to take its own decision is called as political entity. So polity means, it means a political entity having its own legal and administrative framework. Legal and administrative framework. Now, here you find three things. One, what is the meaning of a political entity? Two, what is the meaning of a legal and administrative framework? And three, what is the meaning of a legal framework and what is the meaning of an administrative framework? So these are the three things which are related to the definition of polity. So now let us discuss about all these things one by one. The first, having legal entity, political entity. Political entity means an entity having the capacity to take its own decision, to take its own political decision. Administrative framework. It means a political entity having its own administrative framework to rule itself, to govern itself. For example, bureaucracy in India. Bureaucracy. Having its own legal framework. Now, what is the meaning of having its own legal framework to run the country? Legal framework means a constitution. A constitution to run the country. For example, Indian polity. The moment I say Indian polity, now what is the meaning of the term Indian polity? What do you understand by the term Indian polity? So meaning of the term Indian polity is, the moment I say, suppose Indian polity, so it simply means that it's a political entity. India is a political entity having the capacity to take its own political decisions. It has got its own legal framework as well as administrative framework to run the country. So, a polity is something which is capable. It is capable of mobilizing resources for its people. A polity is capable of mobilizing resources for its people. Now, what is the meaning of a polity having the capability to mobilize resources for its people? Is capable of mobilizing resources. Mobilizing resources for its people. Now, what is the meaning of the capability to mobilize resources for its people? For example, to run a country, you need to have resources. Now, who has got this responsibility to mobilize resources for you? It is not you or me who are entrusted with the task to mobilize resources for our people. It is the responsibility of the Indian state to mobilize resources for its people. Got my point? I said that polity. What is the meaning of polity? A polity is a political entity having its own legal and administrative framework, having its own legal and administrative framework to govern the country. To govern, for what you need legal and administrative framework? Obviously, to govern the country. To govern the country. Now, what is the meaning of political entity? Political entity means an entity having the capability to take its own decision, to take its own political decision. It has got its own legal framework to govern the country, to run the country. So India has got a legal framework that is called as constitution. It has got its own administrative framework to run the country, to govern the country. So India has got its own bureaucracy which is responsible for running the country. And a polity is also capable of mobilizing resources for its people. Now, the example of polity. So the best example of polity would be, example, India is a political entity. India is a political entity. It means it can take its own decision for its people. It has got its own constitution. So we have Indian constitution. And we also have Indian bureaucracy, like civil services, entire machinery of a state. So we also have entire machinery of state, Indian bureaucracy. An Indian state is capable of managing resources for its people. So Indian state, India is having capability to mobilize resources for its people. To mobilize resources for its people. So India is having capability to mobilize resources for its people. For example, food grain for its people. Food grain. During COVID period, India provided free food grain, free ration to 800 million people in India. India also has the capability to provide medicines to its people, to provide vaccine to its people. India also has the capacity to arm its population with the skills. So polity is nothing. When we say Indian polity means India is a political entity having its own administrative and legal framework to govern the country. And this political entity has got the capacity to mobilize resources for its people. Now, what is the meaning of mobilizing resources? So you can manage the resources for your people. You can manage money for your people, food grain for your people, medicine for your people. So to manage resources is the responsibility of the state. Got my point? Everybody understood this concept? Everybody understood this concept? Please let me know. Everyone understood this concept? Now we are moving on to the next one. So next one is democracy. remember that this particular topic, basic concept, it covers not less than 20 questions. So I will be discussing those questions in the classroom itself. Those questions will be covered in the classroom itself, so that you need not worry about the question paper later on. So I have framed everything in such a manner that I will teach you a concept and then one question will be dealt with you, so that then and there itself you would be able to solve the question also. So in the classroom also I will follow the same strategy. One concept, and then if there has come a question from the topic, so it will be discussed there only. And then, so that you will become very comfortable and examination fear will go away. Examination fear will vanish from your mind. What I find that this fear, it kills you. If you are very fearful about exam, this fear will kill you. So once you will start solving question in the classroom itself, things will become very easy for you. I won't say that exam is easy, but life will become easier for you, so that you can concentrate on the exam preparation without thinking about that I'm unable to solve the question. Will I be able to solve PYQ? In the classroom itself, you will be able to do the PYQs. So now move on to the next question, that is democracy. Now, what do we mean by democracy? People, a couple of questions has been asked from democracy topic also. About democracy, you remember one thing. In democracy, we repose faith in the ability of the people to take decision. What is meant by democracy? In democracy means what you must have studied in your school days. Abraham Lincoln's statement, of the people, for the people, and by the people. It means that people are responsible for themselves. People are capable of taking decision for themselves. So it is nothing but rule of people. Yes, true. Mera desh. So it is nothing but the ability of the people to take their own decision. So it means that people have got enough capacity, people have got enough wisdom to take their own decision. That is why democracy, when we say democracy, so democracy, it involves the ability of the people to take decisions for themselves. So it means the intelligence and character of ordinary men and women in democracy is being utilized. So democracy is a mechanism of the people, for the people, and by the people. It means of the people, of the people, for the people, for the people, and by the people. By the people. It means ordinary people, ordinary people are able to take decisions. Take decisions. Ordinary people are able to take decisions to rule themselves. So, who is going to rule us? This decision will be taken by ordinary men and women. Remember, the same question was asked in paper, or I will discuss with you the question. So, ordinary men and women are capable of taking decision on their own behalf. So, democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people, and election is a prerequisite for democracy. So, democracy is a form of government in which democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected government in which rulers are elected by the people. But is it a sufficient criteria to be called as democracy? Listen to me carefully. I said democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. But is it a sufficient criteria to be called as democracy? No. Just because election is happening, it doesn't mean that it is a sufficient criteria to be called as democracy. Got my point? Because even China has got an election, and that election is free and fair election. So it means any system, in order to be called as democracy, must have certain prerequisites. So what are the prerequisites of democracy? Just because rulers are being elected by people doesn't mean that it's a democracy. In order to be called as democracy, it has got to satisfy certain conditions. If those conditions are not satisfied, then it cannot be termed as democracy. So remember, just because rulers are elected by the people doesn't mean that it's a democracy. Because even China has got an election, and even in China, the so-called rulers are being elected by the people. Even in Russia, the so-called rulers are being elected by the people. Elections are happening. So everywhere elections are happening, it doesn't mean that it is a pure democracy. In order to be called as a democracy, it must satisfy certain conditions. What are those certain conditions? One, there must be regular elections. There must be regular elections. Regular elections means election at regular interval. Election at a regular interval. Condition number one. But that is not enough. Now you may say that people must have a right to vote. Yes, true, but that is not the only feature of democracy. That is an essential feature of democracy, but not the only feature of democracy. Then what is another essential feature of democracy is there must be free and fair election. But so what? Even China has got free and fair election. So does it mean that China is a democracy? No, China is not a democracy, even though China has got a free and fair election. Even these conditions are not sufficient enough to be called as a democracy, to call a system as democracy. Even though a country has got a free and fair election, everyone has got the right to vote. All those who are adults, they have got the right to vote. And even though elections are happening on regular basis, it cannot be called as democracy. Then the one condition that makes democracy truly inclusive and democracy a democracy is people must have a right to contest. A right to contest. So if you have free and fair election, can it be called as a democracy? No, it cannot be termed as democracy. It is not the only condition that will be sufficient enough to be called as democracy. Suppose elections are happening at regular intervals. So what is so special about it? Even China has got an election that is free and fair, and elections are happening at regular interval. It cannot be termed as democracy. Then for democracy, people must have a right to contest election. So you can contest election, even I can contest election, and let the people decide. That is why I said that democracy, it calls into question the wisdom and intelligence of ordinary people. So ordinary people are able to make decisions to rule themselves. Ordinary people are capable of making informed choices for themselves. So a very beautiful question was asked in civil services exam in, I think, 2019. Just going through the question paper, I came across this question. You may answer this question. The question is, the democracy's superior virtue lies in the fact that it calls into activity. The question that was asked related to this definition of democracy. The question is that democracy's superior virtue lies in the fact that it calls into activity. A, The method for strengthening executive leadership. Obviously, democracy is not about the method for strengthening executive leadership. B. A superior individual with dynamism and vision. Obviously, democracy is not about a superior individual having dynamism and vision. So, both statements are incorrect. A band of dedicated party workers. Democracy is not about a band of dedicated party workers. We have got nothing to do with BJP or Congress or any other political party. So, band of dedicated party worker is not enough to be called as, is not sufficient to be called as democracy. And D, the intelligence and character of ordinary men and women. So, democracy's superior virtue lies in the fact that it calls into activity. It calls into activity the intelligence and character of ordinary people. Therein lies the superior virtue of democracy. This question was asked in 2019. So, that is why I said the democracy is of the people, for the people, and by the people. Democracy, it calls into question the wisdom and intelligence of ordinary people. It means that ordinary people are able to take informed decision. Ordinary people are able to take decisions to rule themselves. Those ordinary men and women, they are not being forced from outside. They are capable of taking their own decision. So, those ordinary men and women, they are capable of taking their own decision. That is why I said that the superior virtue of democracy lies in the fact that it calls into question the intelligence and wisdom of ordinary men and women. It means that ordinary men and women, ordinary people, they are able to take decisions to rule themselves. So you and me, we are able to take our own decisions. Therein lies the superior virtue of democracy. So democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by people, but that is not enough. That rulers are elected by the people through an election, but that is not sufficient enough to be called as democracy. So there are certain prerequisites of democracy that must be fulfilled in order to be called as democracy. One, there must be regular interval, regular election. That is, election should take place at regular interval. Like we have election after every 5 years. 5 years is the general term. Then, right to vote. Like we have universal adult suffrage. The right to vote cannot be discriminated on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, etc. All those who are above 18 years of age, they have got the right to vote. And then free and fair election. So free and fair election. But these three are not the sufficient condition to be called as democracy. People must have the right to contest election. So even you can contest election, even I can contest election. For example, in China also the election is happening, but everybody has not got the right to contest election. So in India, anyone can contest election. Even I can have my own symbol and I can contest election of both of MLAs, MPs, etc. But in China, you cannot do so. Only the member of Communist Party have got the right to contest election. And democracy, in democracy, it is the ordinary men and women who exercise their wisdom and intelligence. So that's the true definition of democracy. Everybody got this concept? Everybody got this concept? Please let me know. सही बात है ऋतिक, तिब्बत का चूरन वर्क करेगा. So please let me know. Yes, Parneet Kaur, but that is not the only, that is not the sufficient criteria. Everybody must contest election, then only it can be called as true democracy. Even if you have got the right to vote, Parneet, it doesn't make it an inclusive democracy. In order to be called as democracy, even you can contest election and I can contest election. चलिए. No, first three classes Adil would be free on YouTube so that you get an idea about our teaching, and then it will go private. So just a moment, just a moment. Now let us begin with another important definition. Definition is government. So you must have come across the term government a number of times, but defining government, it remains a challenging task. Now what is the meaning of the term government? So government is a group of people officially running the country, but remember that it is not truly a democratic government. So any country can have government, remember, be it China or India or Iran or Russia or United States of America, any country can have government. That is why I said that just because some people are running the country, some people are getting elected, is not enough to be called as a democracy. Now, what is the meaning of government? It is an official body to run the country, and it may be elected by the people or may not be elected by the people. So, government. It is an official body to run the country. It is an official body to run the country. It is an official body to run the country. Condition number 1. But those who are running the country, they may be elected or they may not be elected. Just because the government is running the country, it doesn't make it a democratic government. Remember, it may be elected by the people, as in case of India, or it may not be elected by the people, as it can be seen in case of China. So it may be elected by the people. It may be elected by the people. May be elected by the people, for example, India, or it may not be elected by the people. It may not be elected by the people, not necessarily that it is elected by the people, but it is a group of people that is officially running the country. Remember, for example, China. It may not be elected by the people. So it means any country can have government, because without government you cannot run the country. So it may be elected by the people. Its main responsibility, what is its main responsibility? Any country can have government. Any country can have government. For example, even North Korea has got a government. Example, North Korea has a government. China has got a government. India and USA. India and US, etc. has got a government. So any country can have government, but not necessarily they are the elected members who are entrusted with the task of running the country. They may be elected, they may not be elected. So a government is a group of people that is officially running the country, not necessarily the elected one. Even unelected persons may be running the country, like the one in North Korea. So the people who are running the country in North Korea, they are unelected. People who are running the country in India, they are elected ones. Now, what is the primary responsibility of the government? Primary responsibility of the government is to efficiently manage the country. Primary responsibility is to officially run the country. Run the country or manage the country. That is the definition of government. Now, what is governance? There comes another word, governance. We will be discussing about the term governance in detail later on, not now, right now. But for the time being, you just understand the meaning of governance. Governance. Governance is the way through which countries' economic and social resources are being managed. So it means the way authority is exercised for the management of countries' economic and social resources. The way authority is exercised for the management of countries' economic and social resources is called as governance. Now, you may be asking this question, what is the meaning of authority? I'm coming on to your question. Authority is nothing but the legal power to take decision. For example, authority is traffic policeman is an example of an authority. Traffic policeman is capable of taking his own decisions. A traffic policeman is capable of taking decision, and his ability to take decision is derived from the law. This is what is called as authority. Authority means a person having legitimate power is called as an authority. For example, I do not have the power to issue PAN card. PW does not have the power to issue PAN card and GST number. PAN card and GST number can be given only by Income Tax Department and GST Department. It is not the prerogative of the PW to provide GST number and PAN card on its own to its employees. कि नहीं जी हम तो अपने employees को we are going to give GST number to our own employees according to our own rules and regulation. It will not happen. Why? Because PW is not an authority. PW does not have the legitimate power to take decision. So governance means the way authority is exercised. Now, what is the meaning of the way authority is exercised? It means only those who have been given the power to take decision as per the dictates of law, only they can take decisions for the management of country's economic and social resources. You and me cannot take decision for the management of country's economic and social resources. The way authority is exercised, it means what? All those who have been given the powers to take decision by law for the management of countries and country's economic and social resources. So the way authority is exercised, it means governance of the country is not the responsibility of PW. It is not the responsibility of Reliance. It is not the responsibility of mine. It is the responsibility of authority. So who is an authority? All those who have been given the power to take decisions. Who has given them power? So they have been conferred power through the laws. And who has made the law? The law has been made by the parliament. So suppose somebody is a traffic policeman. So only traffic policeman has got the power to impose fines on you. If you go for drunk and drive, then only traffic police has got the power to punish you. has power to impose fine on you. So the way authority is exercised in the management of country's economic resources. Country's economic resources means economic resource management of economic resources means the way economic resources are being mobilized. Social resources means human resource management, people's management, how to give a skill to your people. Social resources. So economic resources. It means resources for resource mobilization for running the country. From where are you going to get money for running the country? And what is meant by social resources? Social resources means social resources. Social resources. It means management of human resources. Social resources means management of people. And who is going to manage people and who is going to mobilize resources for the country? These are the tasks that are entrusted to the one who enjoys power, who has got authority, who derives their power from the law. Now, what is the meaning of authority? Here only I am discussing with you. What is the meaning of authority? Authority means legitimate power. Legitimate power is called authority. Now, what is the meaning of legitimate power? So, the power that is being derived from the law called legitimate power. Power is being derived from where? From law. Example of authority: traffic policeman. Traffic police is an example of authority. Only traffic police has got the right to impose fine. You and me do not have got the right to impose fine. Nobody has got, even member of parliament do not have got the power to impose fine. Only traffic police has got the power to impose fine, because traffic police has got a legitimate power. Traffic policeman derives his power from the relevant laws. Everybody understood this concept? Everyone understood this concept? Hmm. If there is any doubt, please let me know. The next one is the state. This question was asked in civil services exam about definition of a state. What do we mean by a state? We will also be discussing about the definition of a state in detail under Article 12, not now. But you look at the nature of question paper. How has question paper evolved over the period of time? Today, due to paucity of time, I could not discuss with you about the way trend has changed over the period of time. Trend of civil services exam has got significantly changed over the period of time. Nowadays, they have started asking philosophical question in prelims. So they did not ask question related to Article 12. They asked simple definition of democracy. They asked simple definition of a state. And I tell you, there is a hell lot of difference between clearing the exam and being a knowledgeable person. Even if you have studied the whole book, still you will not be able to mark it correct under exam pressure. Now look at the definition of a state. State, what is the meaning of a state? What is called as a state? Here we are not interested in UP state or Bihar state or Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu state. Here we are interested in a state like Indian state, US state, Russian state, or Chinese state. The state. State is a community of persons. State. A community of persons. A community of persons occupying a definite territory. Definite territory. Free from external control. Free from external control. And having an organized government. And having an organized government. A community of persons occupying a definite territory, free from external control. A community of persons occupying a definite territory, free from external control, and having an organized government. Now, what is the meaning of this statement? Basically, this particular definition of a state, it consists of four things. One, a community of persons. A, it consists of four things. State consists of following. One, a community of persons. A community of person. Point number one. Point number two, occupying a definite, permanently occupying a definite territory. Two, permanently, not temporarily, permanently. अब Maldives घूमने जा रहे हो. Suppose you are going to Maldives for your vacation. Though I don't prefer to go outside India. I prefer to remain within the India only. So suppose you are going, just for example, you are going outside India for some purpose. So you are not permanently occupying the territory. You are only temporarily residing at the place, maybe for 10 days or 15 days or 6 months or a year or 2 years. That's it. So suppose you are visiting outside India, so you are not permanently occupying the territory. Now, what is the meaning of permanently occupying the territory? Permanently occupying. Occupying the territory. Two. Three. Free from external control. from external control. And D, having an organized government. An organized government. So a state consists of one, a community of persons. It means if there are no people residing in a particular territory, it cannot be termed as a state. Whom are you going to govern if there are no people residing in a particular territory? So community of persons first. Community of persons means a group of people permanently occupying the territory. Permanently you are residing at a particular place, like we are living in India. So you apply all these concepts on India. Now this circle represents India. So India has got a definite territory. Suppose this is Indian territory. This is Indian boundary, Indian territory. And this Indian territory is being inhabited by a community of persons. It is being inhabited by a community of persons, people. It is being inherited by a community of persons. And this community of person is being governed through a government. And these people are being governed by an organized government. And this organized government is capable of taking its own decision. ये जो organized government है, this organized government is capable of taking its own decision. For example, Indian state is capable of taking its own decision. So India, while taking its decision, does not ask from United States of America. India is capable of taking its decision by and large. India does not ask from United States of America or Russia or China while taking its decision. So state is nothing but a community of persons. Community of person means a group of people occupying a definite territory. You are living in that territory on permanent basis. You are living on a definite territory. Definite means it belongs to you only. It does not belong to, it is not a disputed territory that China is also claiming that it is mine and you are also claiming and Russia is also claiming. It is not like that. A group of people, large number of people, the population may be large or small. So a group of people occupying a definite territory. You have a definite territory. Definite territory means you have got a boundary which is being within which a group of people, the population may be large or small, are inhabiting the particular territory. And you also have an organized government that is capable of governing its own people, governing its own territory, that is responsible for maintenance of law and order, mobilization of resources, management of economic and social resources. And this organized government is capable of taking all its decision on its own. Capable of taking its decisions on its own. So India does not take its decision. India does not take dictation from United States of America. India is capable of taking its own decision. India is responsible for its own people. So the finest example of the definition of a state is India. So India has got a definite territory. India has got a boundary. I'm not talking about the disputed territory of India. We are concerned about the definite boundary of India. So India has got a definite territory, one. And this definite territory is being inhabited by a group of people, large number of people. And this group of people and this territory is being governed by an organized government. So, for example, maintenance of law and order, management of resources, mobilization of resources. All of these things are being done by Indian government, and Indian government is capable of taking its own decision. So it means the definition of a state, it includes one, population; two, a definite territory; three, government; and fourth, sovereign government. Sovereign means what? Later on we will discuss about sovereignty. Sovereign means when a government is capable of taking its own decision on its own. When a government is capable of taking its decision both internally as well as externally. For example, India does not recognize any other powers while taking its decisions. So that's the definition of a state. So India is having large group of people inhabiting India. India is having a population. India is having a definite territory. India is having a government, and this government is capable of taking its own decision. Hence, this government is a sovereign government. So these are the characteristics of state. Everybody understood this concept? Please let me know. Everyone understood this concept? If there is any other question, please let me know. Otherwise, we will wind up the syllabus. No. Tomorrow we will discuss. During colonial rule, Diabolo bandit. During colonial rule, India was under external control. So, during colonial rule, India cannot be termed as state. India was, in a classic sense of the term, only a country. So, tomorrow we will discuss about a state, then we will discuss about country, then we will discuss about nation. Tomorrow we will discuss. These are the concepts where you will always remain confused. What is the meaning of a country? What is the difference between country and a state? What is the difference between country and nation? So we will discuss about all these concepts tomorrow. That is why I take a basic concept chapter in the first lecture itself, because I know that these are the things which will remain painful for you throughout the preparation. Even after spending a couple of years in exam preparation, a student find it really difficult to know the meaning of country and to know the meaning of state and to know the meaning of nation. So tomorrow we will be discussing all those concepts. I find this topic is of utmost importance. Yes, these are the four basic elements of a state, Shikhar. That's true. Yes, बिल्कुल PDF मिलेगी कन्नू. PDF will be given, I think, on app. On app, you will get PDF. Those who are enrolled student, I think, though I'm not sure. But on the app, you will get PDF of everything. So let us wind up with this. Thank you, Bandit. Thank you. Your name is Diablo Bandit. Yes, that is true. Millie. Legitimate power is derived from the law, and law derives its power from the constitution. Tomorrow we will discuss about these things. We will discuss about the meaning of law. Then the concept will become more clearer to you. That legitimate power is being derived from respective laws, and laws derive their power from the constitution. Millie. Thank you, Shubham. Thank you. Thank you. I find that vocabulary is really important for civil services exam, because for civil services exam, you need to have large word pool at your disposal. Large word pool will make it easier for you to convey your message to the examiner. So it matters for civil services exam. Thank you, Kavya. Thank you. Partha. So you are from Sankalp batch. So in Sankalp batch, you will have separate Indian polity classes, no? You'll have separate Indian polity classes. Each and every topic will be discussed in the class. You should not worry about previous year's question paper. You should not worry about any other thing. Each and every single topic of the syllabus will be discussed in the classroom itself. We will discuss about Dipank. We will discuss about constitution and set of rules later on. Yes, but that is true. Set of rules. So laws are being formulated on the basis of set of rules, set of boundaries given by constitution. Laws must conform to the constitution. There are a lot of concepts that they keep on asking in civil services exam, like meaning of constitutionalism. This we will discuss not tomorrow, but day after tomorrow. Meaning of constitutionalism. Almost four to five times they have asked question related to constitutionalism. Meaning of limited government. Meaning of constitution. We will discuss in detail day after tomorrow. Yes, Sriram. Because those things, I make it a point to cover all the questions that they have asked in civil services exam, to incorporate all those aspects in my notes itself. So all those who have been my student, they know that there are a lot of students who have taken my classes. They know that 75 to 80% question can easily be covered through the class notes itself. Yes, it is very huge, Sriram. Because what they are doing, Sriram, every year, people say that, oh my God, this year also, you look at Lakshmikant, all the questions have been asked from there. In fact, if a question comes, then those aspects are being incorporated under Lakshmikant. So every year they are adding 30 to 40 pages in Lakshmikant and they are increasing the price. So when I have got a Lakshmikant in which there is only 300 pages, 325 pages, I think. But nowadays, somebody told me, one of my students told me that it consists of more than 950 pages. I find those 300 pages Lakshmikant more useful than 950 pages Lakshmikant, because after all, types of bills are not going to change. So every year they add 30, 40, 50 pages and they increase the price by 40, 50 rupees. So for you, it's a very revered book because it is being recommended by a number of toppers. But perhaps you do not know that those toppers might have gone through Lakshmikant, might have gone through only a couple of dozens of topics of Lakshmikant, not entire Lakshmikant, but they recommend Lakshmikant. Yes, it is very difficult. 950 pages, covering 950 pages, I can assure you, it's a real difficult task. If somebody says that they can cover and they can internalize the content of 950 pages, I find it really difficult. And I find it really odd to recommend Lakshmikant to students. Because the point is that you will not be studying only Indian polity. You will also be studying history and geography and so many other subjects. So why to focus so much upon Indian polity? You need to think always in terms of risk and reward. If the risks are more and reward is less, I'm not going to do such things, because the purpose is not to become a knowledgeable person. Purpose is to clear the exam. So becoming a knowledgeable person and clearing the exam, these two are different things. They should not be. You should not be thinking about these two things in the same line. I will tell you, I will let you know, Sriram. I will let you know, because those current affairs things I will be covering in the classroom itself. And if I will find it anything relevant, I will let you know. And anyway, covering current affairs, adding current affairs point is not very difficult. Those are not current affairs, basically. Those things, so in current affairs, every year hardly 10 to 15 pages relevant Indian polity material you will find. So any good magazine of current affairs is going to cover those aspects. I will also be covering those aspects, Ram, so that will give you ample amount of idea that which part of the current affairs you need to integrate in your notes. It will not happen always. Partha, I think, yes, Titan batch you cannot join. It is meant only for Titan batch student. No, Millie. You keep on reading current affairs the way you read. You should not be doing it on daily basis. You should not be doing it. I will let you know how to do that. Don't worry. I will let you know. Thank you, Suram. Thank you. Yeah, it was first class only. All in one channel is asking, sir, please increase speed. It was first class only. In the initial 3 4 classes, I will not increase my speed because I want my students to become comfortable with the subject. I don't want you to run away that polity is difficult. I don't want to give you this feeling. So initially, I will reduce my speed. So that's all for today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. That's all for today. Thank you.